Next with me is Mark Kemp, who's standing in Rushen. And Mark, of course, you are one of the few people that I've done so far that is coming back who didn't get in last time.
That's
anything,
right.
Anything on that? Lessons learned, things different since 5 years ago?
To start off with, I was a swing vote of 55 off getting elected. So Mr. Skelly picked me to that one, and he's now the president of Tynwald. In terms of lessons learned, it's just more of the same with me. So it's more exposés, more shining a light on things, more research, and I've actually got a, shall we say, flipping the programme for government on its head. So where, no disrespect to candidates, but they'll provide a wish list as a manifesto. Some will do a lot of research. I know there's some very intelligent people standing this time. But what I'm looking to do is change the whole process around. So my manifesto, what we do is we go, if I'm elected, we go into the next house. At the moment, it's MHKs select the council and ministers. Select their chief minister, who selects council and ministers. They decide on a programme for government, and then it's voted on Tynwald. But that's a small amount of people deciding on a programme for government for the next 5 years. Where's the people representation? Where's the House representation? So what I'm proposing is a safeguarding the future bill. So work with all candidates that's successful, so those MHKs, in September. And what we'll do in year one is come up with a bill, safeguarding the future bill. This will work across all the issues that are pertinent. Sustainable island, climate, budget reform, education reform, all these things, and many more besides that even I've not thought of. Collaborative approach, that then, if that gets Royal Assent and becomes an act, it binds government to a people's programme.
But everything you say there needs support to get that through.
Of course it does.
So a lot of independence. You know,
Yep.
how can you guarantee any of that's going to happen?
Can't guarantee anything, but of course I can try. At least I'm thinking outside the box, at least I'm trying.
You kind of mentioned the exposés at the beginning there. Do you want to elaborate what you did or what you've got planned? I mean, you're a disruptor.
I wouldn't say a disruptor. I don't think that's a fair term, but I get where you're coming from. If
You're not going to play cosy and nice.
I'll play nice, but if I feel like something needs to be exposed, if something needs to be obviously within the realms of GDPR, etc.
Yeah.
But if I feel like the public need to know something, I will make sure they know.
Because you were very much on the population numbers last time as well, weren't
Yes,
you?
that's right.
You kind of broke that one, I think.
So I broke the population decline story,
Yeah.
and the students not returning, so the 85% students not returning. There were a few other things as well, the egregious overspend on Salisbury Care Home, and what was the other thing, Vision 9. I didn't necessarily expose that, but I did write a blog piece on it during the election, which I then submitted to the Economic Review Committee in 2017, so that's on public record.
So you're a scrutineer then? You look into the details?
I do look into the details of things, but it's not to rabble-rouse or anything, it's to get things out there so people know what's going on. So I do my research, I come up with solutions. It's not just criticising government, because I don't think that's fair. We have to remember that ministers are at the behest of the civil servants behind them. So one of the things I want to tackle this time is civil service reform. We've got to get into them.
That's, meaty stuff, because you're up against a lot of resistance on things like that. And people have come up constantly with things like that.
But I thrive on that.
Right. What are you hearing on the doorstep, though? What are the local issues that you're hearing?
Well, some of the local issues are consistent with what I've already started to roll out, which is the speeding in the constituency. So you see it yourself when you're driving up to a roundabout, flying across there. And Beach Road, which is adjacent to where I live, there's a lot of speeding on that road as well. But then, of course, there's Gansey, where you've got the surfers who are having a great time, but they're all parked up there. And I'm not saying we stop that. What I'm thinking is a solution could be that the DOI could purchase a tranche of land off one of the local farmers. We can get those cars onto a pocket of land, maybe have a surf shack there as well, so that's going to create a job, but it gets the cars off a road. 2 days ago, I was walking along there, and I could see all the cars piling up, can't get through, and then a bus came through, and then that was it, just chaos.
Right. And the National Institute, you've touched on a lot of other things there, but how do you think the Isle of Man's looking and faring, and obviously the change possibly in tax structures and paying for everything you want to do?
Well, this is it. So you've got the wary gaze of the EU on the 0-10 regime. I mean, it's a sword of Damocles hanging over us, I think it is. So we go back to what I was talking about in 2016, which is reforming the budget, the Isle of Man budget, so we can free up some capital to invest in, for example, when police numbers were cut, getting those back, hospital staff, education reform. The money is there. It's for example, no disrespect to Phil Gunn, who's in my constituency, but the SLOC item, which came up 5 years ago, 473,000, which was spent at the end of a budget year. That's $500,000 we could have had, and we could have done something with it. That's consistent across departments. Department for Economic Development around that time as well. 400,000 and counting on the TT World Series. Where did that money go? Because the next budget, they got the same amount again, plus some. So we need to change the budget process. It's a complicated system, but we change the budget process so it's zero-based. We start at zero. We build it up using the business case and the traffic light system.
Where would you most likely fit if you got in a government position? Where would you be?
Yeah, I'm not going to dodge that question like I've seen some people have.
We're not going to say I'll go wherever I'm asked to. You're going to say...
No, not at all. I'm going to say education or economic development.
Well, because your background's teacher, isn't it?
That's right, I was a teacher.
You didn't go back to teaching, though?
I wasn't able to, shall we say.
I think I've heard things that you can't say, basically. There's more to it than we can talk about today.
That's right.
Which is a worry, isn't it?
It's a worry because I know of 4 other people in my constituency alone who cannot teach, shall we say.
And this is the thing that we constantly hear about, things happening behind the scenes. And I appreciate you can't talk about it because no doubt there's probably some legal issues involved with it. So anyway, education. I mean, that yes, number one. But it sounds a bit finance, maybe treasury or something else.
I wouldn't say treasury, although I wouldn't rule it out necessarily because I work in accountancy, so I've got a skill set. But I'd rather be in economic development. I think there's a lot can be achieved there. There's some good work gone on in recent years, but there's more that can be done. And some of that would blend with... So I'm sorry, just to rewind. I'd like to see a more diversified economy. And that means we're moving from the 3rd industrial revolution, which is digital, into the 4th industrial revolution, which is where we're blending future tech, so AI, robotics, etc. I talked about this in 2016. What we do is, now if I'm working in economic development, I can marry up with education, and that's part of the reform there. In Key Stage 3, you've got a pretty standard approach to schooling where we're just creating, shall we say, worker drones. I mean, these are lovely and intelligent kids, but they're not being able to flex their intellectual muscles. So what can we do? Perhaps we can change things at year 9 level so it's more STEM based, or we bring in BTEC, so there's more vocational schooling going on. What I'd like to see is the STEM element flexed earlier, maybe year 8, and it's brought in, and what we're having is, so this is science, technology, engineering, maths, by the way, and kids are developing pathways earlier on. They know what's coming at GCSE level because they're practiced in how to answer questions and so on. But all these things should be marrying up, which is why we need a single legal entity government.
Which has been talked about for a long time. And the silo mentality, I'm sure you're going to add into it.
Absolutely.
How do you feel the MHKs have done in the last 5 years in your area? I mean, without too much detail, but
well, it's a difficult
card, good, bad, indifferent, what?
It's a difficult question, but I can do myself out of votes here if I'm completely honest, but let's just say I think some good work's been done. Lawrence was in economic development. He was handed a horrible job last year in trying to help people out. I felt during the coronavirus pandemic, the MHKs locally didn't step up. I did. I feel if I'm going to be running for MHK, I've got to stand up and be counted. And the way I did that was I set up a Spirit of Rushen Helping Community group. And we got people working together where we would do shopping, dog walking, listening service, and so on and so on. It's still running now. People enjoy it. I have a policy on there, a positive corner of the internet. So no politics goes on there. I haven't put my announcement on or anything.
Positive side of the internet. I love it.
Yep.
Listen, we're running out of time. How do you think they've done overall, the lockdown, everything else like that? I mean, on side with them in general?
I think everyone was dealt a horrible hand, but there are certain things, such as what's come out this week, that need investigating, and I would hope, if I'm elected, I'll be asked to jump on that committee. And
who would you see as your Chief Minister of choice?
There is absolutely no way of answering that question because you don't know who's going to get elected.
Yeah, but I repeat myself all the time.
I mean, I'm not trying to dodge that.
It's someone in there, obviously, already, so you can pick anybody if you know it. And it could be someone that's new, but it's most likely going to be someone that's already there.
It wouldn't necessarily be someone in there, but
I said most likely, and it probably is most likely to be someone that's got some experience. anyone in there that takes your fancy? I mean, you don't have to.
I think, well, no, if I was going to say if it's someone in there, so we're narrowing the question down, if it's someone that's in there, I would go with Chris Thomas.